I'm sorry, but this court finds that there is no evidence souls in hell can be redeemed.
Throughout the first season of Hazbin Hotel, the audience receives a brief introduction to heaven and the angels who live there. One of the most prominent characters is Sera, an ancient Seraphim who acts as the realm's ruler, who oversees trials and creates regulations to protect her people. Sera is the one who encouraged Adam to lead exterminations against hell, believing that demonkind had enough numbers to launch a full-scale uprising against heaven. Vivienne Medrano has stated that heaven will become a more prominent setting in upcoming episodes, and in anticipation of seeing more of the angels, I want to discuss the choices Sera could make in the future and how they will have disastrous consequences. Before I begin, I want to warn you that this video will include information from the Hazbin Hotel leaks. If you want to avoid spoilers before watching the second season, I advise that you leave this video for another time and watch another one from our channel. We have covered many videos about the series spoiler-free. However, this video will be inspired by information gleaned from the leaks, especially concerning Sera, her responsibilities, and the mistakes she may make.
Charlie, don't give up on this! I'll figure something out, I promise!
That wasn't called for, Adam.
Number 1. Abandoning Emily. Despite being the ruler of heaven, Sera doesn't have many people she's close to. In the leaks, she attempts to confide in Abel and St. Peter, believing they may help her make a decision regarding hell. However, they point out that their obligations don't include decision-making, and she dismisses them. Unlike Charlie, who heeds the advice of her friends and depends on them to help shoulder her burdens, Sera acts entirely alone. The only family member she seems to have is Emily, her fellow Seraphim. In the first season, it's made clear how much Sera and Emily care for one another. Sera almost takes on a maternal role as she keeps Emily in the dark about the exterminations, believing the burden is too much for her to bear. She wants to protect Emily from the pain and stress that comes with leadership, and Emily seems to respect Sera's decisions, even if she disagrees with the exterminations. In contrast, the leaks show Emily's enthusiasm about Serpentius and her insistence that the angels welcome him into heaven. Sera disagrees at first and appears to become frustrated with Emily's enthusiasm. However, she changes her tune when the Speaker of Heaven appears and proves that Serpentius has redeemed his soul. Sera then decides how to interact with hell without confiding in Emily, which leads to a potential mistake. Emily decides to inform Charlie of the changes in heaven and leaps through a portal to hell as Sera raises a barrier around heaven. I'm assuming Emily won't be able to return home through her portal and Sera will need to save her. If this is the case, then Sera must willingly open a portal or doorway to hell, which she may view as dangerous. For the greater good of heaven, she may decide to abandon Emily, forcing her to remain at the Hazbin Hotel.
He was the first human soul in heaven.
Well, I bet Angel is doing all of those things right now.
Number 2. Heeding Lute. As we learn in the first season, Sera gave the order for Adam to launch his exterminations on hell. She made this decision in secret, but Adam and Lute continued to answer to Sera even after their activities were outed to the Council of Angels. The exorcists are angels she trusts with the heavy responsibility, so I suspected she would show more remorse for Adam's death. Yet this doesn't seem to be the case. In the leaks, Lute attends a meeting held by Sera with the other angels. While much of the council is overwhelmed with anxiety for the future, Lute implores her peers to take action against hell before it's too late. She's desperate to avenge Adam, someone she cared for deeply. In contrast, Sera barely mentions Adam and doesn't grieve his absence. When Sera decides to prioritize heaven's safety instead of gaining the upper hand, Lute becomes enraged. She develops a vision of Adam that encourages her violent desires and desperation for revenge. Lute decides to take matters into her own hands, planning to take what Charlie loves the most. I assume that Lute will now work in secret to take down her enemies, but it wouldn't hurt for her to manipulate Sera by regaining her trust. If Lute pretends to be a model citizen, she could end up in Sera's good graces. As we see in the leaks, Sera has few friends that she can confide in. Lute could become this confident with careful planning. In time, she could convince Sera to heed her warnings, leading to the Seraphim further turning against hell.
Well, you failed to control the demon's unrest, and now Lucifer is involved, setting up an audience for his misguided daughter.
Number 3. Inciting mass paranoia. The first season of Hazbin Hotel gives the impression that heaven is perfect. The angels don't experience pain, crime, or bad days. Many of the winners go about their afterlife unaware of the darker plots happening behind the scenes, including the exterminations. Some of the higher-ranking angels also feed into this illusion as they believe heaven is the picture of peace and serenity. They don't respond well when this assumption is questioned or the status quo is disturbed. For example, they become increasingly troubled during Charlie's trial, especially when Emily begins questioning Sera's decisions. When we return to heaven in the second season, the Council of Angels are in the midst of processing the existence of a former sinner in their home. As far as anyone knows, Serpentis is the first demon to redeem his soul, making him one of a kind. The development changes everything they know about heaven and hell, which leads to increased anxiety and stress. The Speaker of Heaven arrives to soothe their nerves, as does Sera's ability to look past Serpentis' origins to trust him. However, during a one-on-one conversation with the Speaker, Sera admits to feeling lost while asking for divine guidance. She doesn't receive the help she needs and must make her decisions alone, but each choice leaves Sera riddled with self-doubt. She's afraid of making another bad decision, which may lead to her voicing her concerns to the wrong person. The angels seem like an impressionable bunch, and one mention of the Seraphims expressing doubt in their capabilities could lead to mass paranoia.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, let's give him a chance.
Very well. The court will allow it.
Number 4. Ignoring Charlie. As the Princess of Hell, Charlie has always tried to do the best for her people. Unlike Lucifer, who took a hands-off approach, Charlie never hesitated to work with Heaven to find a peaceful solution. As the audience, we know that she has no intention to invoke a war between Heaven and Hell. All she wants is to help sinners redeem themselves, something that Sera should approve of now that Serpentis is living proof of the possibilities. Yet in the leaks, Sera chooses to place a barrier around Heaven. The barrier prevents anyone from leaving or entering Heaven without her permission, which may cut off communication with Hell. In choosing to ignore Charlie and her desire for a peaceful solution, Sera may turn a blind eye to the growing unrest in Hell, the unrest that Charlie alone can't prevent from spreading throughout the 7 rings.
None of you know what gets someone into heaven?
This questioning stops now. We know when a soul arrives.
Number 5. Beginning a war. The greatest mistake Sera could make in the second season is inciting a war. As it turns out, doing so would be incredibly easy to accomplish. Sera has already shown that she can move Heaven's military forces without anyone knowing it. The exterminations have occurred for years, with her fellow angels remaining unaware. She then approves of a final attack against the Hazbin Hotel, believing that Charlie and her friends pose a risk to Heaven. When the other angels learn about the exterminations, there are no repercussions for Sera, as she is the primary ruler and can get away with almost anything. The phenomenon of blind obedience from the angels is further explored in the leaks. The Council of Angels aren't quick to question Sera's decisions, and they uphold her word as law. They choose to trust Serpentis because she does, and believe that Heaven will be safe because she deems it so. I think it would be easy for Sera to amass an even larger army because starting a war would take little convincing. During her meeting with Abel and St. Peter, Abel mentions that he doesn't like conflict. He makes a clear boundary about not wanting to lead the exorcists into another battle, but immediately retracts his statement, offering to go to hell if Sera believes it necessary. He also reminds Sera before his departure that the people of Heaven will support her, no matter how she chooses to proceed with hell. While his words were meant to reassure Sera, it makes me believe that angels lack the same free will and expression that sinners have. Unfortunately, that means most of them would rally behind Sera's call to action, even if it means jeopardizing their well-deserved peace.
He was selfless. He stopped Nifty from stealing, and he stuck it to that Mothman!
I love the premise of angels being morally gray, with many acting more like the sinners in hell. It's a fun way to subvert an audience's expectations, and many series have gone in this direction in the passing decades. I fully expected Sera to remain a primary antagonist throughout the series, but the leaks confirm that she is misguided and genuinely thought she was doing the right thing for her people. Unfortunately, one mistake can always lead to more, and Sera is in a precarious position. Her uncertainty and self-doubt could easily tip her scale, turning her into a tool for others or into a fearful ruler that causes more harm than good.
Sustained. No further dictionary references, please.
Right, okay,
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications to stay updated on our uploads.
Extermination of human souls, demon or not, there is no reason to be doing this.